Okay, so if you saw the thumbnail or read the description, I think you'll know this is definitely a different type of video than what I normally do. It's not going to be retro computer themed or even modern computer or gaming or anything like that. It's going to be more general electronics. I saw an opportunity to take a look at the insides of some electronics, and I figured, why not share that with you guys? If I'm curious, you guys probably are too. Long story short, recently cut the cord. Figured, why am I paying so much money for television I'm not watching? I was really not watching it. Everything I watched was through streaming, a lot of YouTube, also through Hulu, Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime, all that fun stuff. So I canceled all those services and everything. And then I inquired about returning the equipment. Do I take it into one of the local offices? Are they going to ship me a box? And they said, no, we don't want it back. Recycle it. We don't offer traditional TV services anymore. And they don't. They are heavily pushing for YouTube TV. I guess they're reselling it or something like that. If you already had television with them, obviously you would continue getting service until they decided to say, nope, we're done. But they kept raising the rates, and the rates higher, and it just, they're trying to force people off so they can get rid of all the equipment. It's probably some sort of cost-cutting measure that they're doing. I don't know. Anyway, I've been rambling on, and you probably got the same idea as soon as you heard me say they don't want it back as I did. It's like, ooh, an opportunity here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at two different pieces of equipment. One's a cable box, the other, well, we'll get to it in a bit. I did get two cable boxes from them because I had one in my bedroom and one in the living room. Both Aris branded. Here's the front, basically. There's a display here, menu, okay, whatever. Side has ventilation on it. And then the back, you've got typical ports and not typical ports. There's your cable in, basically, the coax there. You've got composite output, component output, both types of digital audio out, HDMI out, and then the interesting thing, a USB port and an Ethernet port. Now, at first, I thought that maybe this is for IPTV. Starting to become popular in the late 2000s, basically just instead of sending television over the air or through a coax line, traditionally a coax line or, direct TV, satellite, stuff like that. A lot of services were offering IPTV, so you would run Ethernet through your house and connect it that way to like a central gateway. AT&T did that with their Uverse service, and I think Verizon did something similar. There's also a USB port on here. Turns out that this is actually a cable modem as well. It's not necessarily for IPTV. Maybe it could have been used. I don't know. Not sure what the USB port was used for, though. This is around the time just before smart TVs were really becoming a thing, so it's possible this was there so you can plug a thumb drive in and display pictures, something like that. Not sure. Anyway, you got your infrared 3.5 millimeter serial port there for being able to control remote control options for like TV, stereos, things like that. Before this would have been before, what do they call it? CEC. And then you also have your power there. This was manufactured, or at least it's got a copyright date of 2013. Right. Oh, this one's got 2012. So the other box shows 2013. But you can see that the warranty seal, while it's a little tattered, it is intact because this has never been opened. I did not open it myself yet. I want to do it on camera so that you guys can enjoy it too. It's only these 4 screws. They are Torx. I don't think they're security. Nah, they might be. Not that it matters. All my Torx bits are security Torx anyway. But one interesting thing that you see on the bottom here is this divot. I wonder if that's acting as a heatsink. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the inside. So these appear to be T10s. It's going to be a little bit difficult for me to try to get everything on camera the way I'm recording. I'm sitting down right behind the camera so that I can get a good view of everything, and so can you. But I may need to get in the way in order to be able to open up this thing here. But I'll try my best to get everything on camera. I mean, these are just screws anyway. You've seen countless number of people opening stuff up. So if I do have to get in the way, we'll just cut ahead and open it up and show you the inside. And of course, now we got to break that warranty seal. Pretty sure no one's going to mind. This thing is almost definitely no longer under warranty anyway. And if I did it right, there we go. Let me reposition this camera angle for you guys. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a reveal here. Let's see. Pretty boring, actually. I'm guessing some sort of ARM chip. That's usually what these types of devices ran, even back in the early 2010s, 2010s, or it could have been a MIPS processor. In some cases, it could have been an FPGA, but I really doubt they would have used one of those because they would have to have used one that was pretty pricey to do what it would need to do. Internal power supply. There's a clear separation there, which is really nice because this is just taking straight up AC in. Here in North America, 110, 120 volts, and it converts it down. I'm willing to bet it takes it down to maybe 5 volts. Might be 12 volts in there too, I don't know. And then from there, it probably does additional adjustments to bring it down, let's say 3.3 volts, what have you, because you do have the RAM here. Actually, no, this is the RAM. This is a ROM. This is where the operating system would be stored. Capacitors don't seem to be leaking. They don't seem to be blown. They are all through-hole, surprisingly, because during this time, we're definitely surface mount capacitors, and everything else in here is surface mount. They do have ceramics, obviously, but the electrolytics, they're there. What brand are these? I can't tell. I don't know if these are branded or not. Oh, they are. Let's see if we can get this on camera here. They are KZH branded. Not sure how good those are. There's another brand down here. Lelon or Lelor or something like that. Those, I think I've seen that brand before. So, yeah, nothing exciting here. But we'll get the board out and we'll take a look at the actual SoC itself. Looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. Plus I'd have to remove that nut there. And then there are some screws in the back as well that'll have to be removed. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So fair amount. We'll just skip ahead here. All right. Pretty sure I got all the screws out. Some of them were a little bit of pain, but it is what it is. I'm going to remove this ribbon here. And it should just lift out. And there was a little bit of resistance, so I am willing to bet there's a thermal pad underneath. Oh, this just comes out. That makes it even easier. So it was off camera, but this whole back piece just came right out. Yep, there it is. There's a thermal pad there, and it's a little wet. That's interesting. I'm not touching it. I don't know what that's made of, but so let me get this all to the side, clean the area up, and we'll take a closer look at the board. All right, so here's a closer look at everything. I put the screws back in temporarily so I don't lose them. And again, nothing really different than what you saw inside. Underneath, bunch of passive components. Looks like the heatsink would have been right around this area here. Not sure why they needed it. I should say thermal pad. I'm not sure why they needed it. Probably a lot of heat being generated below as well. There's no fan or anything like that to keep it cool, so it definitely had to use something. Let's see. Looks like we've got some header pins here. Let's see what these are labeled. It's not labeled anything other than J1400. Wonder if it's like a JTAG or something like that. But then you also have this J1501. Don't know what that would be for. That could also just be some sort of JTAG, TTL, something. Probably to program the ROM chip here, which is a Samsung K9F4G08U0D. I'll put whatever spec that is on screen. But we also do have these SK Hynix RAM modules. They are the H5TQ2G63DFR. There is a section here for something to be populated. Looks like it's got to be another 3.5 millimeter jack based on how it looks, but for what type of device, what kind of plug, I have no idea. Interesting. Otherwise, there's nothing else that's, in terms of ports, there's nothing else missing. Obviously, they got some spots where they decided they don't need capacitors. So there's also this switch here, SW1400, some sort of reset switch or boot select or something like that. Oh, and there's one more set of headers right there, labeled as J1401. And I think that's it. There's some unpopulated ones here. I'm guessing that's probably for some sort of a switch, if I had to guess. Nothing really else in the bottom, though. So, yeah, Let's go ahead and remove this heatsink and see if we can't figure out what ARM chip this is, or if it even is an ARM chip. I'm going to use these gigantic needle nose pliers because that's all I have on hand right at the moment. My workbench in the basement is a disaster zone because I'm working on another project and I don't really want to have to clean everything up just so that I can work on this and then have to get everything back on the bench again to finish the other projects. So, okay, I think I got it. Yeah. A little bit of thermal paste, and there's the chip. I have to wipe that off so we can get a better look at it. Wow, this stuff is kind of hard. I just want to wipe off enough just to see what's in here. No, that didn't do much, did it? I might need to scrape that. Similar to the stuff that they used on the original Xbox almost. But I can start to see through, and I had a suspicion this is what it was going to be. You can probably see it now a little bit better too. It says Broadcom, and you know, Broadcom does make ARM CPUs. I believe they also integrate network controller and everything right in there since Broadcom is a networking company. So yeah, so let's see if I can get a good close look at it. There we go. It is the Broadcom BCM7418. That sounds really familiar. Give me 1 second. Okay, so it's not quite what I thought. I thought it might have been the same chip that's inside the Raspberry Pis. At least it would have been in the first gen. Maybe even the Raspberry Pi 2. But the BCM7218X series, they're 16 nanometer set-top box SoCs with AV1 support and integrated Wi-Fi 6. So technically, this has Wi-Fi 6 in it, but no, this came out in 2012. Was Wi-Fi 6 around in 2012? Possibly. Wonder. There's no date or anything on here, but features HDMI 2.1 out, OpenGL, and Vulkan support. Verimatrix video mark, whatever that is, NextGuard watermark. Guessing that's some sort of copyright protection stuff. Single USB 2.0 port, which we know there's a USB port there. eMMC interface, so that's going to be this guy right down here. Audio decoding, motion adaptive deinterlacing, multiple AV outputs options, which we have right there. There's also using some DACs to convert digital to analog for your component and your composite output. Supports HDR apparently, SDR to HDR, and HDR10. Interesting. I did not realize that stuff, that those specs are that old. So yeah, interesting. I guess these were also using some TiVo boxes and a few others as well. So that's kind of neat. I mean, and like I said, this also works as a cable modem. That's because it does support MOCA. So yeah, interesting. It's pretty neat. Yeah, 2011. So there we go. So unfortunately, I can't find like a service guide or anything like that, service manual, just user manuals and things like that. So it's not going to really give me a whole lot of information about the interiors. That's a bummer, but I didn't do like an extensive search or anything like that. It's just a real quick search. But this was part of it. There's something else that I have that's even more exciting and that I was really looking forward to because it's got a lot of neat things on it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I had to zoom out a little bit and turn the wide lens on because this is a kind of a hefty boy here. That's this here. And if some of you in North America, or maybe these are available globally, I'm not sure, but you may be familiar with this too. So also branded Aris. As you can see, the plastic is still partially on there, although it's also really dusty. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut back to our normal zoom, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the outside, see what it's got in the back, give you some of my thoughts on what might actually be inside, and then we'll take it apart and find out if I'm right. So this one is definitely not going to fit in frame unless I have the wide-angle lens up, but I don't want to have that on the entire time because very limiting to what I can do in terms of recording. So we're just going to go over everything real quick, front, back, and then we'll tear it down. So on the front, there's a single USB port here. There is a LED display here that's basically just like a little pictorial display, probably an LED light behind it where there's some cutouts and it shows you if you're connected, etc., stuff like that. Not sure why this cutout here exists. Maybe it's possible this is for some sort of additional hardware or something, nor do I know what the USB port is for. Sides are just vents and everything, nothing fancy. Here's the bottom where there is an opening. Not sure what's in here. We're going to find out when we tear this apart. And then, of course, serial numbers and all that other fun stuff here. Manufacturing date on here. Not sure because the copyright here shows 2010 to 2014. So this is probably from 2014, give or take. The interesting part is going to be in the back because we have a whole bunch of ports and everything. So this acts as a VoIP modem, basically voice over IP. So your telephone service. There's your cable in. Looks like there's a reset button right there too. Good to know. Fan, very dirty. Also, this was not new when it was installed, so I have no idea what the inside looks like at all. Then you have a USB 3.0 port and an eSATA port for some reason. Not sure what those are for. I can surmise, though. Some routers and things like that can act as file servers and print servers and things like that. In fact, my current router, wireless access point, everything has a USB port in it as well. So it could be used for that, or maybe some other functionality, which we'll get to in a bit. I also have built-in switch, which isn't that uncommon nowadays on cable modems alone, because they'll have built-in wireless access point, built-in switches, things like that. And then, of course, power. But this device also has a hard drive in it because this is the whole home DVR, which makes these more interesting because is this for expandability? Is it for backup? Not sure. Backup, by the way, would be as if you had to replace this. You can dump your DVR content, swap this out, transfer everything back over. That way you don't lose any of that content that you saved over the months, years, what have you. So, but this says here, do not remove. So this is a separate module as well. This may be a module. It could just be cut out that way because the top half of the shell separates from the bottom. Not really sure. So anyway, yeah, let's just go ahead and we're going to tear it down and see what we have in here because I'm really excited to see what's inside because I'm hoping that it has something in it that would be very neat to take a further look at in the future, but we'll see. So I think the first thing we should do is see what's under here because I'm really curious. And these are the same T10 security Torx screws that the cable box itself had. All right, now, there's no, let's see. Wonder if, oh, there we go. A little heavy because I think this is the hard drive. It is because I see, and it's SATA based. Interesting. I guess SATA was in full swing at the time. And as I suspected, it is a Seagate drive. And it's 500 gigs, and it's a video 3.5 HDD, so this is designed for continuous use like an NVR would. I want to get this disconnected, but I might have to actually remove the drive itself, and it's secured on each side with 3 screws each. I've never seen it before. Usually it's 2 screws or on each side or 4 on the bottom, and that's it. All right, so there's that, and this should be easier now to disconnect. This harness. So yeah, so there you go. Typical Seagate drive. Most DVRs were using them. At least most of the DVRs I ever had a chance of using were using them. So yeah, it's a little dusty and dirty in here, which means it's probably going to be very dusty and dirty once we get further inside. So like I said, the rest of the screws appear to be Phillips. I'm just going to go ahead and take it apart. And when I'm ready to open it up, take a look inside, we'll come back. So I think I'm ready to open it. I did remove that do not remove cover, and I'm going to show you something interesting I found there, which is giving me a little bit more hope as to what I'm hoping the hardware contains inside. Let's see if I can do this without. Oh, let me see if I can't remove the front first. So I do have these clips here. Okay, I ended up flipping it back right side up. I think it'll be easier this way. Well, I do have to take the front panel off somehow, but those clips underneath do not want to come loose at all. I wonder if there aren't screws under here. Let me mess around a little bit longer. Okay, no, it's just tab separating. That was making like a clicking sound. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to break anything, but let's take a look. Unfortunately, not what I was hoping for, unless it's under here or here, but I doubt it at this point. Although, there are some modular components here. First of all, there is this PCMCIA style card. There's a wireless access module right there. We'll take a look at that one, and there's that PCMCIA style card bus, something like that. And some cans and stuff like that for RF filtering, interference, etc. Looks like we've got the modem here, power supply here, some sort of chips here, and a fan, of course, and a bunch of other components, through hole and surface mount. There is a header pin here, as well as a unpopulated header pin here and here. We'll take a closer look, but just trying to catalog everything right now. Wireless antenna. Yeah, so nothing too out of the ordinary. Let me go ahead and let's see. Can I remove this without... I don't know if there's an eject button or something for it, or if I have to just... There we go. So it's called the Power Key Conditional Access Module, Your Key to the World Multi-Stream Cisco. Not sure what that is, but it is model, that's PKM803. I'll have to look that up and see what that is. And let's see if I can get the board out. That's got to be for USB, probably the front USB. There's the, or probably even the power for the drive. Although that could be, no, that's coming off of here. That's almost definitely the USB, just based on the color of the wires. Another chip under here with a heatsink. And let me get these wireless antennas disconnected. And the fan connector itself. And of course, the power connectors. There. Now I can take out the rest of the screws and get a closer look at, well, there's one ribbon up here. And get a closer look at the board. All right, I think I've got them all. And there is some kind of a connector in the front here. The way it looks, it might be for a battery, so it's possible that the front here can house a battery, and would make sense if this is your primary phone system, or primary phone line for your house, and you lose power. You want to make sure you have at least enough juice to keep the internet running and your phone's working in the event of an emergency. So, again, the bottom, there's definitely some dust buildup where the fan is, so a little bit of a protective piece of plastic, probably from heat or possibly shorting. Oh, because of the power supply right there. So, neat. Set this to the side. And yeah, there's definitely some housing here for something, like I said, probably a battery. So, and now it looks like the antenna lines run through here, which means that that's the kind of coverage you're going to have. It hopefully it like bands outward, which means you're going to have this in a room that is relatively central in the house, closer possibly to the front of the house, so it can fan outward, or in the back of the house so it can fan inward, so that the entire house gets as much coverage as possible. So going to go ahead. I'm going to remove the power supply. Probably not the fan, because that's not really that interesting. But I will remove the power supply and we'll take a look at everything else. All right, so the power supply itself, nothing fancy, just a power supply. I wonder who it's manufactured by. It's manufactured at least, well, it's got Aris's name and everything stamped on it, so either they made it or they contracted it out and had their branding put on there. But either way, doesn't look like any of the capacitors have leaked. Hard to tell because they are so very, very close to the PCB, especially these here, but seems fine. And because of the fact that this has to power a hard drive and the board, it's going to almost definitely do both 12 volt, 5 volt. In fact, the power connector for the drive itself, if they're using standard color coding, you've got your 5 volt and your 12 volt and then the 2 grounds. So could come in handy in the future for projects and things like that. But of course, we want to take a look at the board. And there it is. I'm trying to get the whole thing in one shot, but it's a little difficult. Have to be zoomed out for a little bit further in order to be able to get the whole board up close, but we'll get a closer look at everything there. Here's the wireless access module again and all the other components that are soldered on. So let me see if I can get that removed. Take a look at that a little closer detail. Wasn't terribly difficult, 2 small clips, and there we go. Some sort of wireless module, not sure the branding or anything, it's covered in stickers. Maybe I can find some part number or something online and see if I can't figure it out. And I don't know if this is mini PCI or mini PCIe style connector. I'd have to look at a picture just to be safe, but it's possible this could be using the PC. Let's see, we've got all of this. We've got heat sinks. So I'm a little bummed out. Oh, lost focus. I'm a little bummed out because of the fact that I was really hoping that because I had a hard drive and all that, that this might actually be, an industrial PC or PC-like, and that it would have like an Intel chip, like an Atom or a Celeron or something like that. And it still might, but I doubt it. Just looking at this chip here and this one here, it's probably either another custom Broadcom chip or a generic ARM chip or something like that. But who knows? We'll take these heat sinks off and find out for ourselves. So we'll start with this one here. Actually, I probably should just remove both of them while I have a chance. And there was one more, like I said, near the PCMCIA cage or whatever, card slot cage, and I think that might have just been glued on, so I will start with the one on the right side. Oh, that one is stuck on there. That's using the same type of paste that, well, not same type because it's a different color, but it's definitely hard. And it's obscuring the chip. So let me see if I can get some IPA on there and soften it up. While that's soaking, we'll take a look at this one as well. A little easier. But we need to get some IPA on there as well and see if we can't soften it up a little bit. It's going to have to be scraped for sure. Bummer. So I've let them soak for a little bit of time, and it is not even remotely softening up or anything, so I might just let them soak for a while. And if that doesn't work, we might need to go with a stronger option, unfortunately. But in the meantime, let's take a look under these cans. Let's see. I hope they're not just soldered down. Doesn't appear to be. Oh, nothing fancy, some smaller chips. I'll see if I can get a closer look, as well as a couple of really tiny coils. So I hope you can read that, because it's kind of hard for me to see it on camera. I'm going to see if I can get a magnifying lens on it for myself. Let's take a look at the next can here. Alrighty. This one might be a little more challenging. not. A bunch of little chips there. These look like... they're all saying MXL. MXL2415F or SF. Not sure what those do, but we'll have to take a look and see what those are responsible for. And then we have this last can here. I mean, we also have the coax in here. Kind of looks like an RF modulator, but it's not because of the fact that it has to do with networking, although maybe they're similar in function. I don't know. Not really familiar. Let's see, can I get this one out too easily? And some, well, one other tiny chip. I'm not sure if I can get it on camera or not. Let's see. So again, we'll look it up and we'll see what this actually is. The other thing I need to do, though, is to figure out how to get at this heatsink here. I might have to take these screws out here and remove the part of the PCMCIA slot, at least the framing around it. But you know what? Let's take a look under this one, too. Why not? That just flew. And that's what's in here. Nothing fancy that I can see anyway. Probably something under there, but that's going to require me to desolder, and I really don't want to. It's listed as FL2000. Yeah, let me apply a little bit more IPA on these two chips that had the really plastic-like thermal paste and see if I can't get them loosened up. So yeah, I'm still soaking those, making small progress, but while we're waiting for that to continue, we've got some more chips here. We've got some RAM and a flash module here, and there's possibly a second flash module. Where's it at? Right there, WinBond. Whereas this one is a Toshiba, and the RAM modules are SK Hynix. Again, you've got several different populated and unpopulated jumpers and things like that. This chip here, just based on certain reflection that I get, it might just be a Broadcom Chips, another custom one. So I'm going to be willing to bet that might also just be a Broadcom chip, but I can't read any of the writing on it. And again, I can't read the writing on there, but I can see kind of like the Broadcom logo kind of like trying to like shine through. So it's probably almost definitely not x86. Still, they were still in use though, and it would have been really neat if this was an Intel chip and we could somehow hack on some video and maybe get it to run Doom or something like that. But I guess we'll find out once I can finish getting this stuff off of here. All right, so it's actually been a few days since I last tackled this because of the fact that this whatever thermal paste they used was just a huge pain to eliminate. After multiple soaking attempts with IPA, I decided to go a little bit stronger, and I used something known as Dissolve It, which is similar to Goof Off, or not Goof Off, but Goo Gone, where it's kind of like citrus-based, and it's a citrus-based solvent, and I left it on there, and I still had to do some scraping, but I was able to remove enough of the paste so I could actually verify the chips, and yes, they are, in fact, Broadcom chips. Also remove the heatsink over here, another Broadcom chip there, and all of that. And I took some close-ups of all of the chips so I can get the model numbers and everything. So I'm a little bummed out that there are no Intel chips on here, no, Atom or even a lower end Celeron or anything like that, because I think it would have been neat to be able to try and hack into this and get it running as a PC. And not that this probably couldn't be done either, but I definitely don't have the skills for that. If it was running an Intel chip, there'd be a really good chance of it having a more traditional BIOS or even UEFI type BIOS, which could possibly be hacked with the mini PCI connector here. Put an adapter in, give myself maybe a 1X or 4X slot, put a graphics card in there. Already got a USB port so I can do input and, maybe do something fun with it. But who knows? I'll do some research. Maybe someone has already figured out how to do something with this here because, again, it did have storage and it does have a PCMCIA slot here, which could potentially be used for things. And, who knows? So, but yeah, otherwise, I'm just going to probably hold on to this for a while for some spare parts if I need like any random capacitors here, a lot of 470 16-volt capacitors here. There's also some alternate values as well, although most of these look at their 470s, 16-volt. No, this one here is an 820 6.3. But anyway, got those. Got the heat sinks that I can use for other projects, things like that. Chips I won't really be able to use or do much with. Same thing with the cable box here. Got some ports I can probably steal from it. And three capacitors here, 470 25 volt, and then this nice big one here. It's a 68 250 volts. So, try to recycle and reuse components and things like that. The power supply to this guy here is definitely something interesting because it's got 5 volts, 12 volts, probably some other voltages too. I'm assuming it's got 12 volt just because of the fact that the drive itself ran off of 12 volts and 5 volt. And it's possible that the board itself might have taken whatever this was giving it and converting it to 12 volts, but I doubt. I'm pretty sure this one did it itself too. But it'd still be nice to have, a power supply for some kind of functionality. And again, at the very least, I've got components I can steal from here. So yeah, we've got an X2 cap here that I can use. And I think this one's a Y cap maybe, or I have no idea what this is. 1406, I'll have to look it up and see. But anyway, spare parts that I can probably use for different projects and things like that. So, so unfortunately, this was really just more of an exploratory thing. I was hoping we could do something fun with it. But like I said, I'll do some research and see if maybe in the future we can maybe do something with it. Some of these unpopulated pins here. Maybe I put a pin header in there, enable JTAG, something like that. Maybe we can do something with it. But anyway, just rambling at this point. So hopefully this was a nice little distraction from everything I've been doing for a while. Distraction from retro gaming, retro computing, and all of that. But we will be going back to that with the next videos here, because that's mainly what this channel is about. I just wanted to occasionally tackle something that's a little bit different. So if you guys ever messed around with any random electronics like this before, you have any experience with, this particular board, maybe even, leave some comments down below. Otherwise, thanks all. Catch you later.